Demi Moore. What does it take to rebuild yourself when the life you carefully constructed falls completely apart? Not just once, but over and over again. For one of Hollywood's most iconic actresses, that question wasn't hypothetical. It was survival. By the time she was 12 years old, she had already witnessed things no child should ever have to face. By 40, she had conquered Hollywood, earned millions, and still found herself losing everything that actually mattered. And at 62, she's finally talking about all of it. The pregnancy loss they kept hidden, the addiction that consumed nearly a decade of her life, the marriage that shattered her sense of self, and the long, painful road back to the woman she was always meant to become. This is the real story of Demi Moore, and it's far more complicated, more heartbreaking, and ultimately more inspiring than any movie she's ever made. She came into the world on November 11, 1962, in Roswell, New Mexico, and from her very first days, life was anything but easy. Her biological father left before she was even born. Her mother struggled deeply, and the household was unstable in ways that went far beyond financial stress. Both of her parents battled alcohol, and the family moved so frequently, more than 30 times before Demi turned 14, that she never had the chance to feel rooted anywhere. Stability wasn't something she knew growing up. It was something she spent the rest of her life chasing. When she was just 12, she witnessed her mother attempt suicide. In her memoir, Demi described having to pull pills from her mother's mouth with her own small hands, while her stepfather held her. That moment, that terrifying act of a child trying to save her parents' life, forced her to grow up in an instant. Childhood, for all intents and purposes, was over. School brought its own battles. She struggled with dyslexia, and a condition affecting her eyes required multiple surgeries. At 16, she made the decision to drop out entirely and support herself, taking on jobs ranging from modeling to debt collection. At 17, hoping to leave the chaos behind, she married a musician named Freddie Moore. The marriage lasted only 4 years, but his last name stayed with her. It became her stage name, and the world would come to know her by it forever. Her path into acting began in earnest when, at 19, she landed a role on the daytime soap opera General Hospital. More than 1,000 actresses had auditioned for the part of Jackie Templeton, a tenacious journalist with a spine of steel. Demi got the role. She earned $750 per episode, which wasn't much, but the opportunity was everything. Jackie was a different kind of woman for television at the time. Assertive, complex, and resilient. In many ways, she mirrored who Demi was trying to become. But behind the scenes, she was battling something serious. Her substance use had become a real problem, and those who worked with her could see it. It was director Joel Schumacher who intervened during the production of her next major film. He saw genuine talent in her, and he wasn't willing to let it be wasted. His ultimatum was simple and non-negotiable. Get sober, or lose the part. Demi chose sobriety. The studio even arranged for someone to be with her around the clock throughout filming, ensuring she had the support she needed to stay on track. The film was St. Elmo's Fire, released in 1985, and it launched her into a different stratosphere. She played Jules, a young woman trying to keep her glamorous facade intact, while everything underneath was crumbling. A role that, perhaps not coincidentally, had real echoes of her own life. The movie became a cultural touchstone, and made Demi a recognizable face in what the press dubbed the Brat Pack, a loose collection of young Hollywood talent whose careers were rising simultaneously. It wasn't a label the actors particularly loved, but it cemented their place in popular culture in a way that proved remarkably durable. Even in 2024, a documentary revisiting that era premiered, and conversations began circulating about a potential follow-up to the film itself, with hopes of reuniting the original cast. Then came Ghost. Released in 1990, Ghost was the kind of movie that wasn't supposed to happen. Made on a budget of somewhere between $22 and $23 million, it grossed over $505 million worldwide. It became the highest-grossing film of that entire year, and, at the time, ranked as the third highest-grossing movie in history. It was the most rented video in the United States in 1991. The scene at the Pottery Wheel, with Patrick Swayze and the strains of Unchained Melody, playing in the background, became one of the most replicated, parodied, and genuinely beloved moments in cinema. Demi's short haircut sparked a fashion trend that spread across the globe. Her performance earned her a Golden Globe nomination and a Saturn Award for Best Actress. What makes the Ghost Story even more remarkable is the personal backdrop. While that film was sitting at the top of the box office, her then-husband Bruce Willis had Die Hard 2 in theaters at the same time. For a brief window, the two biggest films in America both starred the same married couple, something that, by some accounts, wouldn't happen again with another married pair for over 3 decades. She wasn't slowing down. In 1992, she starred alongside Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men, which earned over $243 million worldwide. A year later, Indecent Proposal, a film that asked audiences to wrestle with the uncomfortable question of whether love could be measured in dollars, brought in nearly $267 million on a $38 million budget.